Right, thank you so much for making time and for joining us on yet another exciting edition of Debate 411. And of course, my name as always is Eugene Anangwe. Today on the program, we are putting our spotlight on the viability of media as a business in Rwanda. And of course, the focus is on the ongoing issues that are affecting the media, if there is any. Of course, that's what we'll be looking at right here on the program, especially when it comes to money matters. And the questions we're going to be asking ourselves include whether the media houses that are on are struggling to remain on air when it comes to financially. And of course, on the program, let me bring on board our panelists. We have Eliud Kagema, who's the former, should I say former, because you've not made these things official, man. I don't know, but what I know is you are the programs manager at KFM.
Yeah, well, it's former programs controller.
So it's official.
It's official.
C'est fini.
Yeah. About c'est fini, okay, it's still somewhat not clear, but yes, I'm formally the programs controller.
Programs controller, yes. KFM.
Yes.
And of course, we also have the media guru himself. This is the Babayao, if you want to say, Albert Rudatsimbowa. Thank you for joining us again, man.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yes, I understand. And of course, Emmanuel Mugisha, who's the Executive Secretary, Rwanda Media Commission. Thank you for being with us on the program.
Thank you.
Right, so as I just did on the intro and what we've been talking about throughout the day on our social media platforms was whether media is a viable, business in Rwanda. Let me start with the person who is at least on air, if I may say.
I thought it was a discussion about how we make babies.
How do you make babies media-wise?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, so what is
is it a viable business? I mean, this is a key question. That someone says, I have the money, I cannot put there.
If at this stage, I wouldn't advise somebody to invest into media and thinking it's going to be viable right away. It's still a cake that we are baking.
Yeah.
The thing is, when you say media, that means in fact private-owned media.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
And private-owned media is a part of the private sector.
Yeah.
Now, with such a small private sector, you can't really expect to have the big cake like
and the babies,
and the babies like I was introducing the whole.
But Mugisha here would be saying, from the regulator point of view, who regulates the content and stuff, he would be thinking otherwise. He would be saying, no, this is a market which we have people still on air, and we have many who have still, constructing their studios according to Rura.
And even coming in.
Yes.
More demand.
Yes. So you do not agree with Albert's point of view.
Well, I do agree that there are some issues financially going on, especially with the print media.
Yeah.
And of course some other media houses. But the mere fact that we see people coming in didn't create a situation that has a mixed feelings about it.
Yeah.
The Dream Factory.
So Dream Factory. Eliud, he says the fact that we are seeing others investing, still coming in, and others who had been given licenses actually still in the process of constructing their studios, then that should be used as a signal or a yardstick for that matter, that actually the environment is good, but things mix. Yes, there's business.
This question is a two-part story. One, for me, I would say media is a viable business, yes. But then again, in Rwanda, it's proving to be a difficult viable business.
Why?
There are so many factors that come to play. One, the market itself, the size of the market. Two, the number of players we have in the market currently. And when I call the number of players, I mean serious players in the market, because we also are suffering from having so many media houses that are not serious, that are not professional.
How would that
but they are
affect
on air.
the viability?
Of course, it does, because
of the business.
Because what happens is the business on media is, especially radio, TV, and even print. It's all about who sees, who hears, who understands it. For print, it's how many eyes actually are able to see your paper. For radio, it's how many ears you have. For TV, it's how many eyes are glued to the screen. Now, if you have so many players that are taking attention, because once it's on air, it has to take attention. So you have a lot of sample bases. Everybody's trying to sample. So it's like, okay, today let me listen to Contact. Okay, tomorrow, KFM. Then the other, no, there's Royal.
In another language, someone will say you're not really ready for competition, because
no, it's not about.
It's a choice for people to choose.
Eugene, don't get me wrong. Competition is the best thing that can happen in this market. But even when people are competing, you compete with able. That's why we have the Olympics. There's a whole process to getting the team that goes to Olympics. Not everybody just wakes up and goes.
Albert, what's your
And here,
thoughts
this
on
is where we are right now.
I think he started with the wrong side of the equation.
Yeah.
Because when you say that, he means that, in fact, what is the business of a media? It's the content that connects with an audience. So the business is the audience. That is the logic. Only that it becomes a business when people understand that to grow their business, it is good to connect with those audiences.
Yes.
Yes.
But that is the missing link in our chain. No one here, in fact, communicates. They don't care. The private sector is growing only by newcomers, but it's not. They're not growing. Eventually, they're growing by newcomers, but they're not growing a cake. I mean, insurances. I mean, if you look on international channels, the biggest advertisers are banks and insurance companies.
Yeah.
Here, they're absent. They're completely absent.
They're absent in terms of spending, but they are available physically, and
No,
you
that
could see them
mean that you have to walk to the building to see them.
Yeah.
You see,
Yeah.
but
And
while
that's
they
a
should be so, and it also, even for the small hardware shop doesn't understand that he should spend some money into communicating.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and no one does that. But now the number one client, the government, doesn't. It's the same. They are the number one example. They don't communicate.
Albert, actually for me, I would like to look at it this way. You're right. The number one client is the government. Doesn't communicate. I think they say they communicate, but they're not really creating an industry, because what they have done is they have taken the business that they can give to private sector, okay, in forms of those communications, and they've just started the same business. So,
For example, what?
for example, for me, that's what I was saying. There are too many players in this industry.
Yeah.
It doesn't make
Like
sense.
which player here is
it doesn't make
created by the
sense.
government?
Of course, we have the
substantiate
national
this.
broadcaster,
Yes.
which has, if you look at the list, has over 30 radio stations across the country. You find there's the RBA Radio Rwanda, the biggest, which is everywhere in the country. Then they have gone and done other smaller radios.
So in your opinion,
every
you
corner.
feel this is killing the private
Of course it
businesses?
is, because the government does not even think of us on the private sector to spend that money on. They take the same budget and take it back to the government.
Is this
So
a
how are we
valid
gonna
concern,
work?
I
Mogisha?
think what he's saying is true to some extent. You know, there are so many reasons that can help us explain why the business industry for the media is facing challenges, the political economy and other factors as well. But let me come back to what he's saying. Of course, RBA as a public service broadcaster, the word public itself, it means it shouldn't be competing
With
the private sector. That one I agree. Because if we believe that they are getting a certain portion from the public expenditures, that does help them to communicate to the public in accordance to the terms and references given to them. That means they should leave the private people to come in and have their role as well within the private sector. But again, looking at how things are happening, it's like the move is to have everyone sustainable so that they can be able to sustain their own setups and businesses, so that the burden can be laid off from the government. So I think there are two conflicting situations. The one of wishing that RBA be supported out of public support and leaving the private media to now compete for the market. But also there is this other demand that the government wishes to see RBA becoming basically viable to sustain itself.
Good,
so
but they should
balancing the conflict or balancing the conflicting interests is what should be looked at.
I like the explanation that the government wants to see RBA make its own money, sustain itself. Well, good, totally well done. But then why does RBA have to have 35 radio stations? Why not have one radio station, make it national, focus all the energy on it, and then leave the other room for other players?
Yeah, but then
it totally doesn't make sense.
The argument I've had on this one is because of the interests of private radio stations. when a private radio station
Let's
is
talk
on
of
air,
private media.
yes, of private
including
media.
print,
Yes,
including
yes, private
online.
media.
Yeah.
They have their own, you know, intentions and the kind of content that they want to air. And so as a public broadcaster, they would want to be able to tap on that you do not tap on.
But that is why they have frequencies. But that is why they have frequencies across the country.
But
not
let's
radio stations.
let's not maybe not just
Yeah.
stay on the radio,
yeah.
Yes,
because
yeah.
it's. Let's talk about the bigger picture. We have public, we have private. So
And community again.
Yeah.
There's another section of the community radio
yeah,
broadcaster.
well, community. It makes
should be
sense.
private, actually.
There is room for that, and
It
but
should be
they should be
private.
limited. They should be limited to the community. So that is one thing. But coming back on public-private, I also believe that the fact that it is public, there is no other way. You cannot say it has to be self-sustainable. It is public, so it's not self-sustainable.
Yeah.
There
It's
is
not private.
an input
Of the public.
from the public
Yeah.
sector. So therefore, there should be a limitation for private, I would say, advertisements of the private sector. And no, in general, there should be a limitation that they should not exceed.
Yeah.
And so that there is still room enough
Yeah.
for that the rest goes to the private sector, and then the private sector compete for that. But at least that cake is not even really existing.
Yeah.
There is not enough communication in general.
Yeah. But at the end of the day, gentlemen, what the client wants is how many people are you able to reach? The audience that you talked about.
The other thing is...
And so if you have not invested in that reach, then how do you expect to have
I think what
that
Albert is
cake?
saying,
Yeah.
Albert is saying,
Yeah.
when you look at the private sector, from what we've been, getting from people trying to understand the problem at hand,
Yeah.
what he's trying to say is like, the private sector thinks that investing in advertisement, for instance, in communication, is a favor they are doing for the media. It's not something they believe that it is adding value.
necessary, yeah,
to
It
their
is
business.
necessary to their businesses.
Rightfully
So,
so.
yes, so having this private sector that is probably not facing competition, so that it can now, think of, going aggressive to the audiences and seeking their demand for their products, I think becomes a key issue. But then, since that is the setup of the private sector, what can we do? Should we, for instance, harness the regional integration market? If, for instance, we have Kenya investors who want the Rwanda market, why not go for that market and sell our media products to
Is
those
this what you're
people?
telling Albert?
Yeah, this is what I'm telling my colleagues who are into this business.
Yes. But
this is a thought.
Yeah, yeah.
This is a thought. Since we have a private sector that is that dormant, if I may say, in terms of relating with the media, why can't we look broader, in a broader way, and say, now we have integrated our economies. How is our media crossing the borders of Rwanda? And for example, visit people like Mukwano who want to compete with Sufo in selling their product to this market.
So what is it? Just hold on. So Albert, what he's trying to say actually is, yes, you feel like they're not communicating around here. So why? This is what he says. Why don't you just go beyond and take the bull by its horns and look for alternatives or solutions to this from the outside people who you feel are able to talk more? I mean,
first of all, that goes a little bit beyond strictly the business of the media. You see, because but there is room for business there. The people who can be the agencies that can connect actually the transborder business. So you can't put all of that on for the media, because the media, like you just said, was to concentrate on your audience. How you invest in quality people that can provide the quality content that can connect with a majority of audience. Again, therefore, you need quality revenues also, because if you use peanuts, you get monkeys.
you get money. Elliot,
Yes.
he talks of investing in content, investing in the people, and then
you need the means.
And you need the means. Man, Nation Media Group has all this. And so what happened here? This is a question that most people are asking and saying,
because media here is a cash drain.
I don't want to be the spokesman of Nation Media Group.
Yeah, but this is on your own.
But I like his analogy, which is very interesting.
I would love to get to this.
You see, the thing is, okay,
that if you have it all, what goes wrong?
This is what goes wrong.
Yeah,
this is what goes wrong.
Yes.
Once we say that we want to come and invest, okay, as an East African entity, come into Rwanda, open the borders, all right? You need to understand that when you're looking for money or when you're looking for this communication, you're only communicating for products that will be used locally. So if you send me to go to, for example, Nairobi and bring a product from Nairobi to communicate it in Rwanda, while it's not available or usable by the Rwandan audience, then I'm not making sense. So the module is fine. Find the right people, pay them well, sustain them, and hope that you will be able to make some revenues from the market because you have the best, you're giving a good quality, you're giving good content, so the market should be able to see that and tap into it and give you revenues that can sustain the business. Now, what happened with KFM is a tale of exactly that. You invest, and you expect returns, but then the returns don't come as fast as they should, or they don't even come at all. Because you're here now running a business, you have people to pay, you have overheads to factor in, you have taxes, you have very many other things to do, but the cash flow is not the same as the outflow. So that's where the business now becomes a bit difficult.
A cash drain.
Yeah, it becomes a business of excuses, where it comes to the end of the month and you start telling guys now, you know, you're going to have to wait a bit for us to check and see who's going to pay us, at what time, then we'll be able to pay you. You know, those kind of conversations that really do not make good business. Yeah. The other thing that I've also noticed is a problem in this market, to be specific, is the culture of paying. It's also a problem. Let me just put it out there. For example, Media House X will work with client Z, and we have an agreement that you're supposed to pay me upon invoicing. And what happens is I will go into a 90-day, 120s, 180-day cycle asking for my money. And again, the person will stand and say, legally, I'm in the right, because the law says 90 days. I have a staff that I need to pay on the 30th day. So when you make me wait for my money for 90 days, I cannot sustain that staff. I cannot sustain the business. So there are very many other factors that come into play here. So many, including regulatory issues, including overheads, like I said. For example, I'm a private radio station. I come into the market. I'm not allowed to invest in my own mast. Reasons are well known. Not everybody can come and put up a mast. Within no time, we won't have space for even those masts. And the one person who has invested in that infrastructure, who, in my view, has no business whatsoever to be in that business of charging me for it, is charging me exorbitantly for it. For example, a radio station, based on what I know, a radio station being hosted on a mast at a certain height, transmitting at a certain kilowatt, pays not less than 18 million a year. If you do the math, that's about 2 million per month.
This is whether you've made profits or not.
This is not money you pay now, you know, you start, let us see if you make money, we'll come. No. It is okay. You want to put your signal, yes. You need a mast, yes. You need a transmitter height, good. We have the space. This is the bill. 1 kilowatt, 18 million francs a year. If you want to do beyond one, it's 21 million. Believe me, I've not made a single coin, and I'm paying that already. What
you're saying here is a key thing that brings about the question of advocacy, the question of the place of regulators. Man, for how long have you been having these issues? And we have the Mugishas here. We have the...
I wonder why they don't speak. They know.
We have... what's wrong? What is it?
Before we came in, I was discussing this issue with him.
Yes.
There are discussions going on that we believe that RBA should be relieved of their duty of managing those towers and the kind of cost that they're charging these people.
Yeah, this is what you are telling him.
Yeah, this is what I'm telling
But what about the people who make the decision? What have you told them?
What have you discussed?
And this is what this is what we're saying. The discussions we are making are with those people must make the decision.
Yeah.
But again, what I'm trying to advocate as well, probably through this forum of discussion, is that media being a public good to some extent, there are some incentives or some subsidies that the government should probably provide for the media to thrive.
Yeah.
Some of those are like, providing some basic infrastructures, like they must at a certain reasonable price that will permit these media houses to operate. That one we've been discussing since the media reforms of 2013, and they've been captured, and there are processes as to how this may end up. I believe it will end up favoring the media because there is a will to handle this and to discuss this.
It may be too late for some because others have even gone out of business.
But for KFM,
Well, we've been
Eugene, KFM didn't leave for money issues. I believe so. Given the public announcement that was made, it seems like it is something to revise with.
Listen,
the way they do business.
This is speculation.
It is speculation, but the real.
But let me hear from Albert here.
Going in that direction, I would just add also there is some of the business that goes through public media should be reserved to go through private media. I think in some other places you have the public broadcaster that is limited in advertisement, in the space of advertisement allocated from any private or government. So that means that there's a spillover that can go to the private sector. That is one of the things. Secondly, you say there should be also a public incentive to help sustain, to support. Yes. Now, where those revenues also could come from, we need to think about the fact that we import so many devices that can, in fact, contain content, from a flash disk to a telephone to a smart device to a tablet and all that. I also believe, because we are in this new era of digital era, and there is space to have a small tax on all of these devices that goes to a basket fund that in fact support the content production. That goes to copyrights, that goes to producer rights, so that you find a fund that is self-sustainable, because we do that all of the time. We buy all of these things all of the time, and all of the time we put in there that content. So that means before, we are in a situation where people just watch TV for free. They listen to radio for free. They almost go online for free. You see? So someone has to pay what they see, what they consume.
Yeah.
But for instance, the BBC model, from what I've heard, like the BBC being a public service broadcaster, there is a fee that everybody who consumes electricity, say cash power in our case, there is a fee that BBC retains from each unit that you consume, on assumption that whoever consumes at least power has a TV,
has consumed something from,
consumed something from, and that money goes to BBC as a public service broadcaster, because it's presumed.
But
perfect. So those are kind of the models that we think we should integrate.
But this thing here is too expensive to get another fee on.
Because at the end of the day, the audience who's watching this right now is like, I already have taxes that I'm paying for which I'm already feeling.
And he's getting this for free. And he's getting this for free.
Yeah.
So how do we sustain to give him again tomorrow and again tomorrow this nice setup?
Yeah.
How do we do that?
For example,
how does he participate? Because the question is, how do you as consumer also contribute to sustain this? You want more, you want better, but how do you contribute?
Because it's a public good. Just imagine if
No, not just public, also for us, for the private to be there,
Yeah,
to
to
be
be there.
present.
What I'm supporting is like
So what you're saying is they should facilitate the running of your business.
Of course.
But that's the main
Through
reason.
advertisement
Yeah.
and eventually,
And
well, like I'm
exactly.
saying,
not the running
this-
of their business.
Yeah, because that's how
But
it
the
looks like.
production of content
Yeah.
that the public needs.
Yes, the
No,
Because
but
at the end of the day,
yeah.
media is an instrument of
It's a
any
platform.
democratic society. So we need it.
Yeah.
It's like we need roads. We
Of
need-
course, it's part of the infrastructure.
It is
No,
part of the
absolutely.
infrastructure. So
Yeah.
it is a public good
Yeah.
that we should
True,
think
on
of
that.
seriously
Yeah.
Yeah.
and try to look from all angles
Yeah.
how
Absolutely.
we can sustain its existence.
Wait, because I want us to understand these points really well, because some people who are watching already feel like they are already participating by paying for the subscription of that particular. Yes,
Again,
for instance.
Okay. Then the guy who
So it's probably-
distributes
yes.
needs to pay a tax
Yeah.
that goes
Back to that fund.
not his
the
normal
concept.
not his normal business,
Yeah.
but it should be like a content tax.
Yeah.
A content tax.
A levy.
Content tax.
A levy to
Let me ask one of
Star
my
Media
camera.
Canal Plus, these people should be, contributing something.
Kevin, would you pay
Content production.
content tax on top of the tax that you're paying? Just shout yes or no.
No, I'm paying RBA for tax. I'm paying tax at RBA.
So he's already paying taxes that are being used
only
to run RBA.
only for
well,
these guys.
Yeah.
Listen,
No,
I
but
get
but
this.
seriously,
Yeah.
people love everything for free.
Yeah.
But is for free sustainable, and what
It's not.
quality is do
It's
you
not.
get? What quality do you get for free?
Yeah.
That is the whole point. So if we say there is business there, then contribute to the business. One thing through advertisement also. That means that, by the way, an institution like RGB could run also this audience business. Doesn't know who is watching what at what time and all that. That should be also part of of what they could contribute to this market.
Yeah.
Because we know we have then something that is objective there and that contributes also to understand the market.
But the problem, Albert, most of the time when these things happen, it's never easy for media owners or media houses to take it in. For example,
Why?
just a few days ago, you were not taking in some survey that was done.
Yes.
You
Somebody
were not ready to
somebody
take it
tells me that no one listened to my morning show.
Yeah.
I have doubts about that.
Yeah.
Because the
Maybe
kind of
everybody will have
reactions
doubts.
I'm getting, the kinds of reactions I'm getting.
I want to get into that. I want to get into that.
Is a complicated one.
Survey
No, of
issue is a
course.
complicated one.
Albert wouldn't like to be rated lower
than-
Royal.
No. I would
No,
like to
that's
get
not
into
the point.
that. Let me get into this.
If you give me the exact sampling and all of that, that I can.
You would accept.
I've worked with surveys.
Yeah.
That's not a problem.
Let me get
I'm not
into this.
afraid of ranking. That is not a problem.
Yeah.
Let me have an objective body that does it, not somebody that is in business
Yeah.
of that.
Yeah.
Let me get into this.
Yeah. And how
actually,
it helps in the viability of the business. and
yes,
media.
how it helps or kills the viability of the business.
Yeah.
I have personally had a very big problem with the researches that have been done of late. Because when you just do simple mathematics, it never adds up. For those who are watching, I'm about to give you a lesson in how we interpret research. We take the figures that are given. For example, Kigali has 1 million people.
Yeah.
That's according to the latest census. So I would expect anybody who's serious about doing research will reach at least 10% of that figure. So 10% of that is 100,000 people. But you find research here is done and you're told the sample base is 400 people.
Yeah.
Now,
I think it's because of the TV penetration.
no. I'm talking
Also
about
that as
research.
well.
No, I'm talking about research. They give you a whole breakdown of who's watching TV, who's buying papers.
Why don't you
Listen,
then commission your own?
No, that's the thing. When I
Why don't you
commission it,
commission your
when
own
I
that
commission it,
counters that?
get me right. When I commission it, it's now going to stop being objective. What Albert said. It's going to be a business transaction between me and the person who's in the business of doing research. So it will not give me a result. But let me just finish what I was saying.
Yeah.
So a sample base of 400 people.
Yeah.
We know that Rwanda, about 65% of the population is between the ages of 18 and 25.
Yeah.
So if you do the math of 400 people, do about 65% of those people, you see again your sample size shrinks. Then you break it down to social classes. You say there is what we call the AB, which is the upper classes. Then we have the C1, C2, which is the middle. Then we have the Ds, and forgive me for calling them lower, but let's just call them, okay, citizens. then if you break it down that way, and if you look at even again the population and the census figures, you realize that the bigger percentage of the people are not even touched. Out of 400 people, you've only reached about 100.
So you feel that is killing.
So when somebody comes and says, that's one. When somebody comes and says that, for example, Albert has the best morning show in the country, as having asked 100 people out of 1 million, how would I listen to that?
And so
that's one.
Will go to Albert and will not come to you.
That's one. That's one. Two, you come again and say, we have ranked radios or TVs according to viewership and listenership, all right? So you take a station that has a license operating only in one city, Kigali, and you put it as the most listened to radio station in the country. Forgive me, Eugene. We have Radio Rwanda, which goes up to places that nobody can fathom. We have Flash FM, who have invested in frequencies. We have KT Radio. We have more radio stations are investing in frequencies. But then you come and tell me that these radio stations that are reaching farther and wider are not heard as much as a station in Kigali. How does that make sense?
Right. Okay.
So it kills the business. So people end up spending money on radio stations based on figures that don't make sense.
The most important thing that you omit to say is that the guy who does the survey, that's his business.
Yes.
So for him to have all of that, for him it's a business. So I have doubts on the objectivity.
So it can be corrupted.
So it's an issue of objectivity.
Now that brings me to what I wanted to come to.
Can you hold that, please? Because we're going to take this particular break here. After we have to go for this particular break. But of course, when we come back, I want to bring in audiences like Willie Rukundo, who's actually watching. And he's actually asking, when shall Rwandan media move to a higher level? This is a question. This debate has been on for the last 20 years. And the same assumptions always aired. Albert, I've not been here for 20 years, so
and neither have I.
I agree. So we've been really struggling for 20 years.
And that means something.
It's like a
wrong.
jungle sometimes. I wonder how I keep not going under.
You see?
And you're
still there.
And I'm still there because it's not about the business. It's a lifestyle.
It's a lifestyle.
It's a lifestyle. So there is a reason why we do that. But every day we wake up and we want to do it because there is something we're doing. You know?
I still have this particular question of when are we going to be up there?
Well, when people will start communicating and use us to advertise and to reach and to connect with the audience we connect with.
And actually pay for it.
Another one here says, cross the border with what type of content to attract advertisers? This is to you because you said it's time for Alberts and the others to cross borders, go for Kwanos and the others.
In fact, it brings in
what content?
in fact, it brings in the argument I wanted to discuss. You know, we are talking about business, so we must also bring in economics theories. The forces of demand and supply in a perfect market. So, what is the media doing to attract demand? That is one big question.
And that's the question we'll answer when we come back from the break.
And remember, the demand is what attracts audience.
I want to having them on
so it is about the issue of content again.
Creating demand. When we come back, okay? So do stay with us. Definitely Debate 411 heating up a bit right here. And of course, we'll be getting in your comments. Keep them coming at Debate 411 or at Eugene Anangwe. The hashtag to use is hashtag Debate 411. We'll see you in a bit. Stay with us.
Ese wari wagerageza ibicuruzwa bya Nakumatt Blue Label? Bigerageze uyu munsi.
The Nakumatt Blue Label products. Trusted quality at real value. Nakumatt, you need it. We've got it. Talk to us today. When quality matters, you can count on Nakumatt Supermarket. Since we don't just believe in high standards but also maintaining them, We are ISO certified across East Africa to guarantee your peace of mind. Nakumat, you need it. We've got it. Talk to us today.
ngambwira nyine urabizi ko nakubwiye ko nshaka kuba meya sibyo ariko nyine kugira mbe meya bisaba kuba nzwi n'abantu benshi cyane kandi nta bantu banzi wowe wabimfashamo ariko
ni byiza ushaka kuba meya umva nkubwira ikintu uzakora abantu bose bagomba kubanza bakagukunda ubundi ukazaba meya
yego nyine ariko niwe ugomba kubimfashamo
nyine umva nkubwira ukuntu bigenda uragenda ugashaka abaturage benshi bakagukunda ugakora gurupe z'urubyiruko ariko bisaba ikintu kimwe amafaranga se utagira
Nakumat, you need it. We've got it. Talk to us today. When quality matters, you can count on Nakumat Supermarket. Since we don't just believe in high standards but also maintaining them, we are ISO certified across East Africa to guarantee your peace of mind. Nakumat, you need it. We've got it. Talk to us today.
Switching.
Okay, good. So we're back. Thank you so much for still being with us. We were having our back behind the scenes conversation.
Sideline conversation.
Right here concerning this issue. We are talking about whether media is a viable business in Rwanda. If it is, talk to us. Tell us why you believe so. There is actually an online survey, because we've talked about a survey here, which we have our own.
Okay.
And the question we've asked you, it's a pinned one on the hashtag Debate411. That's the Twitter handle of Debate411. And what we're asking you is, if you had enough money to invest in a business in Rwanda, would you invest in the media? And is the sector viable? It's important also if you give us your reasons. As we speak right now, 10% are saying of course, and not at all is at 90%.
Okay.
So,
All right.
So we're in, guys.
still looking in for your votes. Keep
We're
voting.
not out.
But to the 90%.
But you see, I mean, look at corporate here.
Yeah.
Not just corporate.
Yeah.
Look at ministries
Yeah.
also, or whatever institutions.
Yeah.
Who do they have in their communication marketing departments?
Good question.
Yeah.
Most of the time,
Talk about even the budget, by the way.
Yeah.
no, but of course, if you don't even have budget, so you have those corporates, even big corporate, maybe not the telecoms because that is another, but anybody else. So who's in there?
So is it
most of
about the
the
person
time,
there?
no, because most of the
about the
time
person
is
there or
the MD that will take
That will decide, yeah.
decide. I think that it's not his field.
And he does it according to what he feels.
What
He says, you know, I like the way Albert speaks English in the morning, you know, and the way he speaks French and Kinyarwanda. I like the guy. I like the guy. You know, let's be there. Let's be there.
So what is difficult with creating?
No.
That's not the
That
demand.
means if you as an institution, whatever, if you're private or public, and you don't invest in and empower a communication team and or department, well, what will be the output and where will it go? You know, so media. To have a nice, I mean, you need to be two to have a nice relationship on that. We cannot, I mean, advertisement, brand building, all of that is important. So we can't get products to advertise if you don't have people investing in advertisements.
Yeah, but let's get back to his question before we went for the break. And of course his argument was this, that you should be able to create that demand. And it should be the issue of demand and supply.
But I say, who do you have in front of you?
Yeah.
You go to a client, you say, we can do that, this, that,
But the
blah, blah,
problem
blah,
is,
blah,
I
blah,
think-
and the guy says, okay, okay,
good.
fine,
Yeah,
well,
yeah,
fine.
yeah.
Eventually, yes.
Yeah.
And it never comes.
But some people argue and say that, when we come up with these concepts, these ideas that you go to pitch, you actually don't consider what the market really wants. And at the end of the day,
What?
when you go there, it's what you have sat in your boardroom meetings and feel like this is what we need to produce.
Eugene, let
how
me
many
step in.
media houses, how many media houses do research to find out, is this kind of show that what people want?
Let
Or
me
they
step
just
in
come
there.
up with it
So
and want
let
to
me
force
step
it
in
to
there.
the
No,
market.
let me step in
Let me
there.
ask you. Let me ask you something.
Yes.
How many successful artists go out and do research on which song lyrics do the people want me to sing for my next album?
From the real.
No,
Okay,
that's what it is.
Yes.
People who are in this media, the
Yes.
people who are professional,
Yes.
people who are professional,
Yeah.
they understand
Yeah.
what kind of contents can work for your audience.
Yes.
That's the
But
same
then
thing
again-
most people feel.
No, what?
That you create thinking that this is what we want, yet this is not what we want.
No, but then again, Eugene, let me
becomes
answer.
No, but no,
Eugene,
no.
let me answer.
But no. One thing is to hear.
Yeah.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
There is an audience.
Yeah.
We have an audience, but we cannot sustain what we give the audience if there is no advertisement. So the question is not about
The content.
About at this point, no, because how do we sustain even if we want to invest in the right guys to have the right content? How do we do it?
Let me put it this way.
Do you create the content first as a media house, then go sell it, or you do your research, due diligence, and say, okay, this content will be so attractive to people, and so it will be good for you as a brand.
This is what I want to
put your name on
This
it.
is what I want to say. In the media business, you have to have a pegging, okay? And the pegging is what you design first, okay, based on how you understand the market. And
Who
I
you
want to say,
targeting.
yeah, and who you're targeting. Now, this is where I want to come strongly and say, there has been this notion for a very long time that any media house, or be it a TV or a radio, is supposed to attract everyone. No. Each particular media house is supposed to know who it's talking to. If you have an audience of 11 million Rwandans, and you decide, I want to talk to 2 million Rwandans, you are supposed to be able to talk to those 2 million Rwandans effectively and have them. And then you, who's my advertiser, who needs those 2 million Rwandans, comes to me because you know those 2 million Rwandans, I have them.
Listen, Elliot.
Now,
this is what it should be like. This is the
now,
ideal situation. Look at the
let
reality
me
of
come back. Let me
all
come back to
media
you.
houses want to do the same
No.
thing.
Let
And
me,
so how do you compete for the small
not all media
market?
houses want to do the same thing.
Yes.
Actually, all advertisers, including the government, want to do the same thing.
Yeah.
You find telecos, okay? They have products that are of different people, okay? They have a product of that person who can afford 100 francs per day. They have a product of that person who uses postpaid. But they all want to communicate on all platforms.
But Albert said they're not communicating. So you're saying they want to communicate.
No, but that's what I'm saying. The business is not viable, Eugene, because I will come to you. I will come to you. Listen, I will come to you and tell you, I need this amount of money to be able to push your product. But you will say, no, why? Why should I pay you all that money? And now I want to come to the points that I was saying are also becoming a problem in this market. We have a lot of unserious players in the industry, where people go and sell their media spaces at almost nothing, just because they want to make a buck. You go to for example, a client, instead of charging X amount of money, you're saying, okay, how much money do you have? And he tells you now, you know, and we've gotten to a point where we're now being treated so desperate by even the advertisers. They just come and say, no, why are you charging me all this money? I know this other one is going to take this money. And now
So
it's becoming,
exactly,
it's becoming a problem. We can't sustain it.
And at the end of the day, because
First of all, on the point that he made concerning, specialization, you specialize on your audience or the kind of people
And you sell the audience.
and you sell that particular audience. But that would be the ideal situation. But sadly,
The demand
when
and
you
supply
watch what you watch, when you see what you see, or listen to what you listen, or read, you find it's mix and match. Everybody's doing almost the same.
What he's saying that is very important, and what we need to think about it, in the language of political economy and regression, is to see how our media owners can come together and say, regulators establish guidelines or regulations for us to do with advertisements. such that if it's a half page in a newspaper, it should go this price, and whoever goes below this is considered as unfairly competing in the market.
As a traitor?
As a
But then I want to take the government out of this. I would rather us who are in the media business come up with an association and seriously be in the association, but not be in association just for the face, you know. When I meet Albert, I'm like, Albert, what's up?
The regulating body wouldn't be the government. That would be fine.
Yeah, wouldn't be the government. What I'm saying is a model whereby people agree that for us to maintain this business, we need to put standards that nobody should go below, and we should agree by those standards, because at the end of the day, it will help the growth of the industry. But again, here comes another problem. We have like a circulated market. Look at the industry, small as it is, having over X number of radios, over X number of online presence medias, print media, and the mushrooming TVs. You see? So our argument has always been, why can't we think of merging such that we leverage on joint efforts? Like you're small, but you can come together.
Use the same studios to deliver content or stuff.
Same production units, and at the end of the day, come up with quality stuff. And in this case, you can even go out of the market and have a strong voice. But people have been dodging this discussion.
And one of the people is here, Albert. Have you been dodging this? Why up to today, Albert, you've not been able to merge with other media owners and do what he says? How viable is that? How practical is that?
I've had this discussion with one of my colleagues. One of them is that we've been thinking about that. So it's somewhere in the pipeline, not to merge into one, but to more specialize by using two. One more targeting an audience, and the other one would be targeting the other one, instead of us two doing the same things. I mean, targeting a larger audience. So that's one of the strategies. This said, it's still open for it needs advertisement to have that sustained. But somewhere, not somewhere, I also do agree that the maturity of this industry is still low, and indeed newcomers have been just they threw themselves in the industry without it's obvious that they didn't know what they were doing.
Coming into.
So they maybe didn't understand what the real business is. I mean, that it is about an audience, that you have to capture an audience, that you have to produce content that connects with that audience. That is obvious, and that is why we've seen so many media just copy-pasting what the other guys are doing. But some are there and providing a certain quality, obviously, but still, we are lacking the means to really.
Would his idea be also a practical idea of sitting down together and saying, you know what, this is the limit when it comes to when you want to advertise or want to sell your space? Because at the end of the day, someone will say, this is my media house. Why do you want
No. I also believe there should be a regulation there. It is a support. It is a support until the cake reaches other dimensions that by markets, by the forces of the market, it will open up. But right now, the other push, the other support that the public sector can give to this industry is to regulate the advertising.
Let me bring in first of all the audience here first of all, and then we can be able to look into that point you want to raise. There's one that says, guys, when you want to see whether media is viable, first analyze our private sector. Do they have products to advertise anyway?
True.
This right is
good question. Good question. I mean, because it's the same thing. If you don't invest as a producer into your packaging, why would you invest also in advertisement? Because your first advertisement comes with your packaging. So if you didn't have a plan how to to make at least, I mean, and you go to the shelves. You go to the shelves and you see, I mean, like rice, sugar, whatever. You know, it is in brown cotton and they sell. I mean, why? I mean, why don't you make it? I mean, it costs a little bit more for the consumer, but he'll accept it. He'll enjoy it. You know, and then that means that you have a plan for advertisement and communication.
Mugisha and then Elliot, we still, I mean, on this particular same question on whether we have products from private sector players that are worth going
I
for.
think the issue is not products. The issue is the mindset of communicating your product. Because every time you produce something that is worth being sold to, you must communicate it. We even have a saying in our own language, implying that a lady or a young lady who doesn't have someone to sell her.
She stays at home.
Yeah, she stays at home. She'll never get married. So the idea is, however small the product is, if you have the business mindset of growing this product, communication should be a priority.
Yeah, absolutely.
You should provide budget for that. And this even goes to the government business.
Absolutely.
This goes to government business. There are so many things that the government is doing that are not known. If people invested in communication, that would brand our nation and our products like never before. And we can make a difference.
Completely right.
You see?
He's completely right.
Absolutely.
So there are things that...
You know, because they take shortcuts. They get the communication down. But it's not branded, so you don't feel it. So outside the people who are concerned, by the way, people don't know.
But still,
like
also
for instance,
on the same issue.
We are talking of consuming Rwanda, like products of Rwanda.
Made in Rwanda.
Made in Rwanda campaign. Now, you're producing something that is made in Rwanda, and you want this thing to be consumed by, you know, overcoming the one that is coming from Europe or elsewhere. If you don't invest in communicating the best of this product, how will it ever be consumed? And how shall we ever make a difference in achieving
but what if we,
the success of this campaign?
What if we flip the coin again or turn the ball and toss it back to the media houses? How many of you people, media owners, also spend your time to brand yourselves so that people are also able to be aware that
let me answer that. One of the other reasons that makes this business not viable is that, again, we invest. For example, a station, like Albert has rightfully put it, a station or any other thing needs branding. That branding costs money. If you look at,
going to rely on investors
wait. Eugene, whenever you're starting a business, you factor two things: operation expenses and capital expenses. Now, at some point, capital expenses is that money that you put into the business to actually build it and for people to see it. And at a certain point X, you now have to stop operating on capital expenses and start having operation expenses that balance out so that you at least have a break even or a profit. And now that media houses are beginning to understand the power of branding themselves and building into brands, it's costing them. And they're investing. That's why we have now very well paid journalists, very well paid station voices, very well paid producers, very well paid cameramen. For example, our guy over there, they're well paid. But we're doing this so that we build a brand. All right? So when we go out there and we say, we are Royal TV, people say, aha, I have seen it.
That's in the beginning. That's in the beginning.
That's in the beginning. But then now
they're well paid in the beginning.
And they're well paid in the beginning, actually. Rightfully said, Albert. They're well paid in the beginning because I'm investing into it. I've planned for it. So I'm expecting you, who now has seen the good product, to come and, you know, support me and bring your product that is also well done, well branded, to be carried on a well-branded station. But that doesn't happen. So later on, I'm going to start having conversations with the cameraman. Now, you know, you work 8 hours. Can we reduce to 4 so that I can afford you? It becomes a problem.
And I play music
and I play music for 4 hours.
When I asked him this question, I was coming to that point where you're talking about the institutions are not actually communicating and they're not branding, as he said. And I was trying to bring in the aspect of monkey see, monkey do. If you do it, maybe you would teach them to do it.
No,
they do not understand it.
We've done it. but we cannot sustain it.
Yeah.
That is a
I
problem.
think-
So,
I
but the question remains there.
Yeah.
When it comes to communication, any office will say, we're running short now.
Yeah.
I mean, we've done everything, but now we're running short.
Yeah. Yeah.
When it comes to communication, there is never budget.
Yeah.
There are so many things happening in this country, but they are running short on budget when it comes to communication.
Yeah.
But they have the coins to make it happen.
Yeah.
So it happens.
Yeah.
But who knows about it?
Yeah. I was going through the requirements.
And luckily, there is free social media. There is free Twitter.
Yeah.
And
You know?
Facebook.
And I mean,
And
we got that
Instagram.
audience there, and that is free, and everybody bounce on that, and they go on your timeline, they go on mine, they go on yours, they go on, because that is for free.
Yeah.
Because why I was asking this is because on part of the requirements for starting off a media outlet, particularly TV, you need to have a business plan. There was also a weekly program.
Weekly program lineup,
which
daily.
I'm wondering if it's actually
Chief editors or
followed up
newsroom.
on or not.
Yeah.
Yes, because at the end of the day then, when you plunge or get into this market, do people do due research for them to be able to jump in? As you said, at the beginning they will pay you well, but then with time it goes away. What causes this? For someone to jump in, happy, and then in the middle of the road, I cannot sustain this, I'm done. What usually leads to this? Is it an issue of not doing proper research on that market you're jumping into, or what is it? I would love to understand this.
You're right. I mean, but there is an evolution in the market. I mean, I started like around 11 years ago. So in those days there were just a very few couple of players. And it was an innovation, private media. For the first time there were private media broadcasting. But with the time, you just get so many players with not very clear content, and and also that cake didn't grow of the advertisers. In fact, it shrinks.
It shrinks.
Yeah. So it shrunk actually. So this is the real situation today. As we speak of today, we worse off than
before.
11 years ago.
Yeah.
And I just say there are more players because there are more people believing that it's only by faith that I would say that this fraternity, that this industry is just moving. And you have new players, they will create a hype for a couple of months and blah, 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 and then will come down again because it has been a cash drain.
I wanna say something that Mugisha was saying.
Because I'm being told we start to wrap up.
Okay.
So probably this could be a
I
parting shot.
want to say something that Mugisha was talking about, and I think this is where we need to go. We need to get to a point where we who are in this industry really get together, really write a rule book for this business. And the business is still in infancy stage, especially on the private media.
Yeah.
And the only way it's going to grow is if we get together, write the rule book. And in this rule book, we're going to involve costings, we're going to involve quality controls, and we're even going to involve situations where we do performance indicators. And if somebody is scoring less than an agreed standard, please shut down. Let it not even be a conversation. It should be, it's very clear. This is how we score you. You have not been able to do this for 3 years. Please return the frequency. Let somebody else who can do it, do it.
It's a public.
Because it's now that we need to get to that point.
It's a public good.
Yeah, right now in this country, in this city, we need to get to that level. So I'm asking regulators or whoever it is who need to do that, quickly come together, write that rule book, come up with the score point. Let's be serious. Let's be harsh about it.
And implement.
If you have not gotten those points for the last 2 years of being in business or 3, please
Just shut
don't waste people's utilities. Switch off. Give it to somebody else who can.
Right.
It's time we do that.
Right. Mugisha,
So,
as we go.
yeah, my intervention is good media, good journalism costs money. That's a fact. But the question is, who will pay this money? You get the point?
Yeah.
So who will pay this money is the public, is the audience, I mean the advertisers, the who and the who. So we should get to know what is the role of everybody and try to clean up as he's saying. So that we see this media serve the public. Because I do believe that to some extent, media is a social enterprise.
Yeah.
Because it serves the public in a democratic society, but the owners who have invested their money need some returns out of it. So we should take it from that angle. The government should continue helping. The reforms that were started in 2013, they should now also look at the industry as a market. How can it be supported with affirmative actions? Because this is a sector that has been lagging behind. And yet we see other sectors have been growing, being given some special support.
Yeah.
So this one also should be looked at and be given some support so that it thrives.
Right. As a regulator, are you pushing this agenda to the right tables?
That's what we're trying to discuss and bring it through inclusion. People discuss them as those discussing them, and we come up with something that we're going to sell for support.
Right. Albert, bottom line.
Bottom line, to the private sector, they should dare and invest into communication, but not just the private sector. Even the public sector should consider to really use those channels. We're going into online, into Irembo and stuff like that and all that. So use the media also to get there, to make people understand how we transform and all that. All of these programs. Also, I agree that there should be eventually more space to consult amongst the people in this industry, and maybe to find platforms where we take it to newer heights. And that's it. But I believe, everything is moving up. Right. When I say it's a cash drain, it's for real. But every day I'm very happy to be in this industry. Absolutely.
Right. Because most of the time you will hear these institutions tell you, but this is content for you.
Absolutely.
They want they want free things.
Sure. Right.
People like Star Media should be contributing.
Oh, by the way, one of the things that you just said, these are middlemen, by the way, who are doing the business of selling our content to the end consumer. They should be also contributing. That is one thing. But somehow the end consumer also should be involved in that. Yeah. I don't think it should be a problem for the end consumer to understand that to get more, to get better, and to have, in fact, impacts on what they want to see and hear, they should also contribute.
Yeah. But do you think do you know that you would have been able to achieve that if you spoke with one voice? I've seen this happen in other countries.
Yeah, but that's
Media Owners Association.
Sure, exactly. That's exactly what I was saying.
These agendas and
that's exactly what I was saying.
By need, eventually it will come.
Yeah, it's very important. It's very important that we come together. Yeah. As much as we are still competing, yes, but let's come together and write the rule book. Right. Every game, every competition has rules. Yeah. And now what's happening is people are hitting others below the belt badly, which should not be happening.
Which should not be happening.
Yes.
Let's close with these comments that have been coming in. One from Regis says, businesses in Rwanda are so poor-minded about media to brand themselves. Anyway, poor PR, that in turn poor the media. I think this is what he's saying. Poor PR strategies will make the media poor and not be able to sustainable. Willie comes back and says, a small cake being scrambled for by many, many hungry stomachs. At the end of the day, all are malnourished. Institutions should finance shows,
Thank you, Willie.
This one is from Baisha, who says institutions should finance shows that talks about their related fields, because at the end of the day, both of them gain. The media continues to be viable, and of course the viability of the media is actually in doubt. This is what he says. And finally, there is no conducive environment for media to be a viable business. Few so-called professionals understand how media is business. This is what it says. Very powerful comments there. Thank you so much. Keep them coming. The conversation usually ends here, but it has to go on our social media platforms.
Free.
For free.
Yeah, free. Yeah.
Well, you pay the telecoms.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
They should also, by the way, pay for.
Of course, they should.
Yes, it's like the ringtones or everything and whatever. They should contribute.
So we should be charging them for these tweets.
Yes, exactly. They should
because their units are being consumed.
Yeah,
of course.
So the next time your units actually are being charged more than usual for tweeting on
they should be paying an angle for debate for
See you again next time. And of course, my name as always is Eugene and Nangwe. Goodbye for now. Bye.
See you in the morning.